We are the 18th of October. Here where I find myself as an individual, it's 19:42 p.m. And I record this video with no conscious plan. I mean, I know what I want to talk about broadly, but I will kind of improvise. I know that when people speak on the internet, potentially anyone with an internet connection can listen to the message or the video. As of now, I think there are potentially 4 billion internet users. But then there is the limitation of first interest, in the sense that people, when they talk in a chronological perspective, they talk to their current audience, which is mostly comprised of the subscribers who are interested in following the content creator, and those who randomly stumble upon the video because of the thumbnail or the title or whatever. So in this sense, people, when they produce videos on the internet, most of the time consciously they think that they talk to their audience or their subscribers or their followers, etc., etc. And then there is quantitative relationship between the number of subscribers, the number of regular followers, because there are those who subscribed many months ago and they no longer follow the channel. There are those who stumble. These are quantitative determinations. But potentially, to talk to an other means to talk to all the others. I've understood this in 2019, then I forgot and I recovered. So that's what I say, that potentially I could speak to anyone from my own empirical country, France, from the United States, from Cambodia, from Bolivia, from Norway, from any country. But I could speak to persons with a very low income but an internet connection in some Canadian household or wherever, or I could speak to Mr. Orban or anyone else. But in order for the message to be received, then there's the moment when the message is being emitted, when I post the video, or when anyone posts the video, and when the other, whoever it may be, he watches the video. And there can be sometimes many years, sometimes a few minutes, a few days, etc., etc. So in this sense, I do not know who watches what, when, but I know this abstractly, namely that whenever people talk, potentially they talk to everyone else. That's why there is only one global community. But then, to be realistic, reality means an sich, sein für andere, there's the moment of negation, etc., etc. People, when they talk in a chronological perspective, mostly to their followers, and I've looked a few days ago at my statistics, but broadly the people who follow me, I have 44 subscribers. These are males from mostly the US, I think Canada and Britain, between 25 and 35, so people who are like me because I speak English on this channel mostly, because I'm a male of officially 30 years old, and because I'm white and I talk sometimes about politics, but not just that. So these are people who are like me in their particular characteristics. And the reason why I have so few subscribers, and on my channels, my previous channels, Cultural Hegelianism, and my French channel, Phénoménologie de l'Esprit, in which I speak French mostly, is because I try, it depends, but I try to talk to everyone and every thinking subject, whatever his origin, race, religion, level of intelligence, if he's a thinking subject, he can understand, if it's properly explained, he can understand language in a way. If it's translated in his own language, etc. But potentially, anyone can understand a message. Anyone who thinks. But then there are, of course, the limitations of what I call the particularities. Namely, I am, because of what I am, empirically, I have a much greater likelihood of talking to people who look like me physically. I mean, white European males in their late 20s, early 30s, etc., who are interested broadly in the kind of topics that I discuss. So there's also the consideration of intelligence. Namely, I tend to attract intelligent people because I have a very high IQ and I talk about complex topics in a very complex way. So there is a very low statistical probability that in the coming hours following when the video will be posted, that I will attract people with an IQ of 80 who are ethnically different and who are interested in a topic that I never talked directly about. So the likelihood is very slight, if not completely insignificant. So there are sociological determinations, basically. And that's why I understand when I make videos about Europe, paganism, white people, it's mostly Europe and paganism, I get more likes, which means usually 2 or 3 instead of 0 or 1. But, so in this sense, if I wanted to make my channels or my channel successful, it would be kind of easy. I would just have to be, let us be positive and to spread positive messages. But the problem, and I could do this, but I don't want to. So in a way, I'm consciously responsible for my own failure to communicate. But the problem that I have is that I know myself to be the negative, which is what the religion call the various figures of evil in the various religions. For the Christians, this is Lucifer, Satan, the devil, and for the pagans, this is Loki. And for other religions, whatever. But I am not completely evil precisely because I have moral standards. And here I will laugh, but I was not in a mood to laugh before making the video. But my struggle for more than 3 years now, since I started producing content on YouTube in 2019, and I will put the links to all my channels that I have posted on YouTube, has been to try to confess that I am the negative. And I try to negate what I am philosophically and partly religiously by doing good. In this sense, this is really kind of pathetic, I guess, that when people hear about me, and eventually some people, or most people, all the people I know will have to, they will find probably this kind of pathetic that if I am, and in a way I am, what the religions call the figure of evil, I genuinely try to do good consciously, to negate myself, so in a way I refuse to be what I am. But I've realized recently that by being just honest, and here it hurts for me, by being just honest and speaking normally without kind of being a hypocrite. So here that's the insanity. If I am a hypocrite, I am evil. But if I am not a hypocrite, I am evil as well. And I will take an example. I could take many examples, but here it really hurts me because, but this is what I wanted to talk about when I started the video. There is a conflict in me between my head and my heart. Ava Max made a great song about this. The love of the intellect and the love of the heart, the intelligence and the emotions. I am conflicted between two goods or two evils, but here that's the problem. It's not that easy. I mean, maybe it is, but maybe I'm overcomplexifying it. Yeah, but my worldview has been since 2013. I will simplify here. But that's the problem. If I start to talk, people will not watch the video because it's too long, and why would they be interested in a guy who randomly talks? But then, that's why I've tried to make shorter videos. I have tried to make videos in French, shorter videos in French. I try many things to try to make people interested in my longer videos where I can speak about what I think is kind of interesting, but or maybe not, I don't know. I've realized that I had gone completely insane, but also it's partly rational, namely that my very complex system I have built, I mean I have not built, but I have, by drawing inspiration from the works of Hegel, I have documents on my computer that I have posted, what I call the process of God. There is a video more than 5 hours long, or the Central Intelligence Agency. It's an 8-hour long video on this channel as well. Very complex worldview, which actually, if I'm honest, and here that's really my suffering, is that it's not really serious in terms of formal presentation, because it's just putting together various determinations. But I have built a very complex philosophical view. And actually I've realized over the past few weeks that expressed in ordinary language, if I just leave aside what I call the system, I just have to express very simple truths that it began a few weeks ago. On the channel Cultural Hegelianism, where I made a video about the revelation or whatever, where my message was simply to admit, to acknowledge that I experience, let's call this desire. And the kind of desire that I consciously experience is an intellectual attraction for interesting, funny, charismatic, strong, intelligent women. I will put the link. Stella, Caroline, and Scarlett, these are women that I am consciously attracted to, because not, here it was already becoming very complex, not physically, although they are quite good looking. They are not very beautiful, but they are quite good looking. It's higher than average. Oh yeah, I'm starting to judge women. No, but they look good, but they are not really beautiful as Emma Watson. But yeah, whatever. No, but seriously. But what I am attracted to by these three women, which are archetypal in this sense, is not a physical attraction, it's an intellectual attraction. And here I will be honest, because I don't know how long I will be able to talk, because I haven't envisioned that I might die in the coming days or whatever, or weeks or whatever. I am sexually turned on, not in an unhealthy way, but I am sexually attracted by the thought of having interesting conversation with these women. And they are archetypal in the sense that they really exist as individuals, but also just, I understood this in 2018. My kind of attraction is for intellectual conversation with intelligent, charismatic, funny women, and the three archetypes, these are these women. And in this sense, I am really turned on. Really, I will not illustrate. No, but seriously. I understood this in 2018, namely that this is what I believed, and I still do, that sex is kind of inverted in the sense that, of course, as a male, as a biological male of 30 years old, I experience sexual desire in a normal way. I used to watch porn and to masturbate for many years, sometimes maybe a little bit too much. And when I go out and when I see attractive, predominantly European, but attractive young European women between, let us say, 18, because that's the legal age, and 32, which from sociobiology is the moment when women are the most attractive, because for reproductive reasons, of course I am kind of attracted, but the weird aspect about me is that I am more attracted by the prospect of having an interesting conversation with kind of a tongue-in-cheek, playful mood with Stella, Caroline, and Scarlett. And in this sense, for me, real sex is intellectual, in a way. That's kind of weird, but in this sense, what is really weird about me, and God knows it's the truth, attractive women, no matter how physically beautiful they might be, if, here that's kind of evil, but if I think that they are kind of limited intellectually or dumb, I am not attracted. I mean, I cannot deny that they are beautiful, but I am not attracted in a sense that that's the truth about me. I understood this in 2018, that in order for me to be attracted by a woman, there has to be the personality element, the charisma. And in this sense, I am quite consistent. All the women that I have been attracted to in my life, whoever or whatever I am, from the age of 5 years old until today, they are all the same, although they are different. They are all European, with sometimes slightly an exception, but I could list probably 20 women. They are all the same. They are all European, predominantly blonde, not only, but predominantly, and they all have, they're all beautiful, of course. I have good standards. But yeah, I'm talking about my own development, because I had a childhood sweetheart when I was kind of 5 years old. The first girl that I was attracted to when I was 5 years old. Well, but then when I was 7, then when I was 11, 14, 15, etc., and then in my 20s, etc. But it's always the same girl or the same woman, namely predominantly European, charismatic, beautiful, but also funny and with a personality. And when I understood this in 2018, I realized, but I always fall for the same trick. No, seriously, I'm always in love with the same woman. which take an infinite variety of shapes and forms, but yeah. And so yeah, and this woman is my teenage romance, because she was that's the only person that I've really loved in the sense of human love, someone you want to be with, someone you want to impress, someone you can talk to, etc. So yeah, but then I discovered through my intellectual development that I developed an intellectual worldview starting in 2013, more or less consciously. I developed an intellectual, cognitive, and then spiritual worldview, purely intellectual, almost, which has led me to Plato, Spinoza, Hegel, in terms of philosophy, who they all defend a view, they all promote a view of love which is intellectual. In Plato, Spinoza, and Hegel, these are my three main influences philosophically. I mean, I have not even read Plato fully, nor Spinoza, not even Hegel, but I get the idea, as Hegel would say. And I discovered what I call Platonic love in my intellectual development, and what I experienced for Stella, Caroline, and Scarlett. In the sense, it's Platonic love, because it's gonna be a little bit embarrassing, but when I fantasize, I do not have a twisted fantasy about physical intercourse, but about intellectual exchange of conversation. And yeah, that's really the weird aspect about me, is that my fantasies about women consciously, and when they are kind of I would say healthy, but also unhealthy sometimes, it involves conversation and yeah, for the good and the bad, in a sense. So what I wanted to say while I talk about this is that the kind of insane, very complex truth that I've been developing with my system, it could be summarized like I did a few weeks ago, that I just want to admit that I experience desire or lust. I think lust is kind of negatively understood, but desire. But already just saying this, I cannot, if I started the video, oh, I'm just a 30-year-old maid, I experience sexual desire. Well, it's just the normal experience for most 30-year-old males who are heterosexual. I am attracted by women. So in this sense, I am the most normal person. But then already it becomes a little bit complex, because the kind of attraction that I experience is intellectual. For in the sense that already I invert the perspective. But in my view, it's for the good. Namely, the world is inverted in the sense that I already thought this 4 years ago. So because I try to, I'm a little bit lost in my own thoughts, and I try to find a consistency. So Because here it's really kind of insane. I believed, and I still do, that being the negative, as I call this, implies having to confess all the negativity of the world. That's the traumatic experience that I had in August 2018 when I thought of myself as being the whole of reality. I was already smart enough, in a way, but I was kind of limited, dumb, etc. I've said it, but smart enough to understand that it means that somehow, unconsciously, I am responsible for all the negativity of the world, all the evil. The people who get killed, abused, mistreated, exploited, lied to, all the corruption, all the negativity, all the things that people hate or don't like in the world, I understood abstractly that I was responsible for this. And I have spent most of my time publishing videos, in the various videos, trying to confess, to say, oh, that's me, I'm responsible for all the problems of the world. But I have recently understood that it's a little bit more subtle than just I am all the negativity and all of you, you are good, because I've had this kind of dualistic view at some moment. I've started to realize over the past few months that actually I was not just negative, not just bad. And then it has become very difficult for me to confess good aspects about me. And I believed that God, different from me, wanted me to confess all my negativity. That's kind of my Christian self. And when I have what I call apocalyptic moods, I am really negative in the sense I play the victim card and I imagine that God, I have to confess, and I'm really negative in a sense that I kind of hate everything because I know myself to be responsible for all the negativity. But then there's another aspect which here I will make a joke. If God, when I say God, I imagine, sometimes I identify, sometimes I imagine the all-knowing observer or sky father or whatever. And here it's kind of not very clear, but if God wants me to confess all the negativity of the world, I have already done this in many videos, and I try to... here I will be honest. I know that there are crimes of all sorts in the world, everywhere being perpetrated. And when I look at the world, not literally, but with my mind, but also literally the news, etc., but with my mind, I try to establish the connection between what I call my soul or my inner self and the outer world. And I have made introspection for the past 7 months, but already in 2019, but especially this year, I've made introspection. I try to understand what is the connection between my inner soul, although the soul is partly tied with the body, but then I speak about my inner self, or even my inner mind, and the external world. And I have tried. This is what has driven me kind of crazy since 2000, in sometimes the negative sense, mostly the negative sense, since 2018. I try to understand what is the connection, the relationship between the negativity of the world and my own inner negativity. And I have confessed at various moments that I have to be in a way somehow responsible for all the bad things which happen, have happened, will happen, whatever. So I have downgraded myself, but it's not, in a sense, it's partly self-flagellation, but also it's being honest. And I try to think, for instance, if I have an inner negative emotion, like anger or resentment, or if I have a negative thought, in a sense, I encounter an attractive woman in the street and I have sexual thoughts, let us say. I don't know how I work, because is it because I have negative thoughts or negative emotions? Are they being projected in the external world? And this is what explains why so many people are mistreated, etc., etc. Is it how it works? I don't know. I still don't know how the interconnectedness, interaction between the substance and the negative, one might say, how it works. And my problem, my moral problem, has been and still is the fact that I feel guilty for all the embarrassing things, the negative things which happen in reality. In the sense, I am constantly being tormented. There have been ups and downs over the past months and years, but I feel constant guilt and shame and remorse and fear and self-hatred for all the negativity of the world. And I have tried, because I do not know fully, I do not understand how I function, so I have tried to first to confess my negativity, and then I have consciously introduced negativity in the world in many of my videos through manipulation, arrogance, betrayal, trash talking, sometimes scheming. I've tried to scheme for the good, but it has sometimes been for the negative. So I have consciously introduced negativity in the world through my videos or through my actions, and so I get kind of trapped by I have introduced negativity just to force people to acknowledge that I am the negative. And then if somehow they ask, but what is wrong with you? What I would say is that, but I just wanted to say that I am the negative, which is evil, etc. So I have to become evil to prove that I was already evil, which is kind of an insane, a vicious circle, as they call this. But I have understood over the past few months that God actually, as the all-knowing principle, he does not, it's not in the sense that the Christian God who wants to torment yourself, repent, confess your sins. I already have. Maybe what would be even more difficult would be confess your good aspects, or confess what here I speak to myself, what I thought was shameful, but which actually is not. Maybe that's what God wants. That's what I'm in a process of understanding, that maybe it's too late, or I'm too stupid, or whatever. But here, that's why the insanity is that if I say I experience desire, sexual attraction in the form of platonic love, that's the philosophical name for the person that I've listed, but yeah, that I just experience attraction. Just to say this, for me, it's already a sin. But then, that's my unconscious, what I call the epistemological evil. Because most people, they experience sexual attraction, physical attraction for women when they are in their 30s, and they do not feel ashamed. And if I have to be honest, you shouldn't, because, But then, there are people who probably experience what I call platonic attraction. I guess that there are others. It's not just my fantasy. It's fantasy in the sense of illusion or whatever. And here, I don't know, actually, because this experience really is one of the weirdest that I've experienced, namely, maybe I will never know, or maybe I will, I experience myself being sexually turned on by listening to charismatic, interesting, funny women talk. So there's a connection between the mind, the brain, and the sexual organs. And yeah. That's really weird, whatever. And yeah. So for me, to confess, yeah, I am attracted. It's already a sin. That's why, in a sense, I'm kind of an insane Christian. although I identify as a Christian and as a pagan, but I have this insane Christian view that that's my puritanical self. I'm not a Puritan in my everyday behavior, but I have this self-mutilating, self-flagellating, self-hating relation to myself as an empirical individual. And here, I'm starting to become a... That's why I want to talk to the Americans, because the Americans, they are maybe the only ones who might understand me in all my aspects, because I have the Americans. Here I will be honest. And when I say this, I am in my Protestant mood. I imagine that there is an all-knowing God, and I say, I will be honest. This is my Protestant self, namely, I speak the truth to not to please God, but to be true to what I think is God, who is all-knowing, and I just speak the truth. I am honest. Whenever I say, let's be honest, I am inspired by Protestantism. In this sense, I'm a Protestant, but also I am kind of a pagan, and both. That's very complex. It's very complex. Yeah, let's be honest. The problem of sex. I have believed for many years that sex and sexual attraction is shameful. In the sense, I am a Christian, puritanical Protestant, not in the sense that I just mentioned, but the typical American of before moral decadence. So in this sense, I have a negative relationship, but I'm smart enough to understand that what people reject and what I reject, it's a part of me that I do not accept. But here it's really complex, because I have started by believing that physical sexuality was shameful. Then the second moment is what I call platonic love, which is partly, there can be tender platonic love, but also erotic intellectual attraction. Namely, the kind of tension which is in Hollywood movies when the guy and the woman, they talk in an erotic way, just the conversation, the seducing aspect of the intellectual interaction. It's part of the human experience, but it requires kind of a charisma and intelligence. And in this sense, the second moment was, okay, physical sex is bad, what I call intellectual intercourse is good. And then there's a third moment in my insanity, is even this intellectual intercourse is bad. So everything is negative. And that's why I'm starting to recover by saying that this kind of attraction is not unhealthy. Because sex can be negative, but it also what is enable life, to create life. That's why I'm so negative, because I have developed a purely intellectual worldview that it also explains reality. And if I had to define, here I speak consciously, I know that I have a subconscious, but what is healthy sex. What I'm gonna say is already very weird. It's to have an erotic conversation with Stella, Caroline, and or no, if I say and, not the end, but there are 3 women at the same time. Oh, is they? And Scarlett. That would be for me healthy sexuality, which is not sexuality in the sense of physical intercourse, but intellectual exchange, which can produce ideas, and yeah, that I would call healthy. And then unhealthy. There is either, of course, sexuality in the physical realm, certain forms which really are unhealthy, and which really are problematic. I know when I have the view of the totality, but then even in the intellectual realm, what I call kind of unhealthy, these are the kind of fantasies that I have with Stella, involving werewolves, vampires, etc., etc. Yeah. And another problem, that the kind of truth that I've been trying to share is, am I allowed to say I love you to another without lying, without deceiving, without betraying, without being disappointing? This is the kind of insanity, because I have been built a very complex philosophical system, but the simple truth of the system is simply to say I love you to another, love you in a kind of in a romantic way. But I have said this, probably many times, but I loved one person, my teenage romance, and my romantic self, for good or bad, I don't know, I believe that there can only be one love in a way, but love is so great that we and I want to love many people, of course, but here I will be honest with myself and with God and with all those who watch this video. My evil, there is moral evil, namely being intentionally willing to hurt the other. That's evil. And but there's also what I call epistemological evil, namely to make the other suffer by speaking the truth. And the first time, or really the negative experience that I've encountered, was epistemological evil. And I'm in the process. Here, only God knows, I don't. Is evil some sort of what I would call a psychosis? in a sense that I understood that the reason why I'm evil is because I project onto others intellectual faculties that they do not possess. In this sense, I will explain. I believe that the others are constantly, not all the others, but scheming, manipulating. So I predicate to them more intelligence and more evil in the sense of harming than they are capable of. And actually this evil comes from me, because not here, it's not, I mean, the consequence partly is moral evil, but it's just epistemological evil. Namely, I completely overestimate the others in their ability to manipulate and to scheme, in a sense. And this makes me suffer, because in this sense I believe that I have accidentally brought forth evil in a way. In this sense, if evil is some sort of what I call an epistemological accident, namely my evil has begun by predicating or attributing to others an excess of intelligence. So in this sense, I'm a psychotic, because I believe that the others are constantly scheming. That's paranoia, but I know that I am scheming, and that I am projecting this onto others. But simply what it means is that I project onto others my own psychosis. And in this sense, the good aspect of this evil is that I'm very often surprised for the good, because the situation of the other is not as bad as I thought it would be. Because I have this tendency of really in a sense, I'm paranoid and psychotic, and yeah, I suffer from most mental diseases, but I try to cure myself. Here I will illustrate. I know that I'm suffering because I know that people will not spend 48 minutes being interested in it, but I speak nonetheless. When I give money to people, here maybe I'm trying to be aristocratic for the good and I don't know, but when I give money to people, and when they thank me, I feel kind of weird, because here that's the what I call the epistemological evil. Namely, I am being evil without. It's this kind of for me money. It's kind of degrading in a way. That's my. I don't know what to say. That's how should I explain this? Here I will try to express what I think. I have several psychological selves. The Son of God, what I call the lover, but the husband or the boyfriend who is seeking the girlfriend, and the father. I have many other, but if I had to use and when I suffer, I think of myself as the Son of God, and I look upward. And here, that's where I am Christian, because I seek the help or the advice, or maybe the salvation or the forgiveness of the Sky Father, or the approval, depending. Then it can be the Christian God, or it can be Hegel sometimes. Then there is what I call the lover, what is the masculine. When I identify myself as a masculine figure, I'm seeking an equal. In the realm of women, that's where I try to seduce Stella, a wife, to find a wife. But also, when I think of the male, I seek an opponent, a competitor. And when I am a little bit too confident, I antagonize Hegel. And when I think of myself as the father figure, I look down on others, but here I think of myself as a father, and I do evil. I will explain here, because it's kind of smart. When I think of myself as the son of God, my evil comes from weakness, lack of strength, lack of character, etc., etc. When I think of myself as the masculine figure seeking equals, my evil comes from my competitive self. Namely, I want to hurt others, but while accepting that they might hurt me back. It's not a competitive. That's a good theory. I will reformulate. When I think of myself as being a son, the son of God, I look upward and I feel down, I feel weak, I feel pathetic, I feel and my evil comes from my lack of strength and my lack of character, and I ask for a kind of forgiveness, and I say it's unfair, I do not deserve this, etc. That's my weak self, and I turn towards the Christian God, or sometimes towards Hegel as a father figure, and I say, why am I here? Why do I suffer? I'm sorry, But then, when I'm a little bit more confident, I identify with the masculine figure, and then I want to antagonize women for the good in the erotic tangent that I've talked about. In this sense, this is when I am attracted by Caroline, Stella, Scarlett, etc., because I want a female counterpart with whom I can play with. Oh, a very poor decision. But in this sense, I just want a female counterpart, and I think about Stella, that I want to antagonize, but in a kind of tongue-in-cheek, playful way. It can go a little bit astray, and then that's with the negativity in the toxic relationship, but most of the time it's supposed to be playful. And then also, when I think of myself as a masculine figure seeking equals, I want a masculine counterpart that I can antagonize, also not in a playful way, but in a kind of aristocratic struggle. And here it's when I think about the pagan community, the European gods, I want to antagonize them, not because I hate them, but because I seek competition, and it's kind of what I call an aristocratic struggle. But then maybe it can go astray, and there may be the tendency to really hurt the other and to be really hurt, and I try to avoid that. But that's what I'm seeking, consciously or unconsciously, I don't know, when I seek equals with whom I can interact. And my view of competition is intellectual and cognitive. That's why I've had the tendency and the intention to antagonize what I would call intellectual equals. And that's why the CIA, because I've started to try to antagonize Apollonian Germ, because he's the best in a way. But then I thought, okay, I went way too fast. That's not fair given the current circumstances. I have to find another equal that I have to antagonize in the masculine figure. And then I thought about the CIA. That's why I built my system, the Central Intelligence Agency. But I want, or I need this masculine other that I have respect for and even admiration, but that I can struggle against in an aristocratic way. And And then I have the father archetype. Sometimes I identify as the father, and I look down onto others as my children. And then my evil comes from willingly and consciously deceiving and lying for their own protection or their own good, or what I think is their good. And then the negative aspect of the father is the one who tries to buy, literally or not, the affection or the love of his children. And when I distribute money, if I'm honest, that's my evil. If I'm honest, I think that it's kind of I have disdain for money. I know, because I've been a privileged star, but for me, it's kind of a disdain in a sense that my view really is, here it's my aristocratic, maybe Evolian view, namely reject the world, not in a Christian sense, but in a, money, okay, to buy the day-to-day, etc., but focus on spirit, transcendence, etc., and But I'm intelligent enough to understand that for the vast majority of people, money is important just to buy the conveniences. So depending on how I think my relation to the other, I'm genuinely conflicted. Because I have the sun, the masculine figure. So the sun is looking upward, the masculine is looking for equals, and the father is looking downward. And depending on my mood, I have the three aspects. Not at the same time, but it can vary. And And here I will conclude the video, because I want to talk about other topics, but I will not make the video too long. I just conclude on this because the gods and goddesses, Apollonian Germ, Stella, Caroline, etc. I know that intellectually, in my world, in the world, you are the best. And you are the ones that intellectually I do not dare look down onto, and that I look as equals. That's why here it's complex, but if I express this, maybe I love you, and but also I sometimes I look upwards. Because most of you are Americans, and I have this admiration for America. So I have this insane relationship with America, but with most people, actually, most of the time I look at America like I look upward, America, whoa, it's great, and I'm just whatever. And sometimes I look downward on America when I have my arrogant German European self. And sometimes I look at America as equals when I try to do my revolution and behave like a decent, common sense American. So I have the three aspects. And my problem is that I suffer from an excess of intelligence, I think, maybe. Which can be for good, but sometimes my suffering comes from maybe an excess of intelligence. And I think too fast, and I lack the proper sense of judgment because I understand either too fast and also too slowly. But here I talk to myself and to others who might watch this. What I call the European gods and goddesses, Apollonian Germ, Stella, Caroline, mostly because you are the ones I've spent the most time with by watching your videos, but also Varg, Marie, Carol, but it's mostly Apollonian Germ, Stella and Caroline because I have spent so much time with you in thought over the past few years. In a way, you are the equals that I'm searching for, because if I'm honest, consciously, you are the ones I want to play with in a kind of a playful, funny way. There can be the excesses of going astray, and then I deserve to be hurt, yeah, but you are the ones I want to impress, in the sense that that's the ambiguity of a certain type of love. You are the ones that intellectually I respect the most, I admire the most, and I want to impress you. That's why I might want to antagonize you and maybe to hurt you, but not because I want to make you suffer, but simply because I'm excessive. And you are that's my pagan view. You are when I think about you, I cannot think of you as looking downward. I look at you either upward because I kind of admire aspects of you, or as equals, and I want to kind of challenge you because I love you, and because I want you to love me for what I achieve. That's my competitive aristocratic self when I'm in a certain mood, and this explains a lot. Who do I want to seduce in a playful, erotic, tongue-in-cheek way? Stella, Caroline, and Scarlett. Who do I want to compete with in an intellectual way? Apollonian Germ, Survive the Jive, Varg. You're too old, man. No, but seriously, Varg, you are my spiritual father, but I don't want to antagonize you because you are already too old. And Marie, I admire you tremendously. You are my spiritual sister, but also you kind of gave birth to my system, and the others, Oleg and Carol. You are kind of my brothers, and I will be honest. My excess of arrogance comes from my intellect. But some of my best qualities come also from my intellect, my intelligence. And the only people who are on the same level intellectually, you are those people, the European gods and goddesses. There are people who are much more intelligent in terms of ordinary social intelligence, obviously, and there are people who are more intelligent in terms of purely what we call expertise, in a sense, the experts in molecular biology, business cycle, whatever topic, cultural studies, whatever. Of course, they are experts in their field of expertise, but the European gods and goddesses of the pantheon, they have what I call a global intelligence. They can talk well and smartly, not in a fully expert, specialized type of way, but they can talk about any topic in an intelligent way. And you have, I don't know who I am talking to, you have all the aspects. You can talk about nature, namely physics, biology, chemistry, etc. You can talk about anthropology, the soul, the psyche, race realism. You can talk about objective Geist. You can talk about art, philosophy, religion. You can talk about logic. And all the other people on this planet, they can't. This is my ambiguous relationship with you. So here I will talk again. What is love? If I had to answer honestly, I would say love is my teenage romance because I enjoyed being with the person I was with, and I could be myself with my twisted comical aspect, my emotional aspect. No, what is love? To enjoy being with the other. And I have only known or experienced love once. It's with my teenage romance, Louison. But then there are so many aspects of love. It can be intellectual love. It can be because I've read too much maybe on the topic. But if I had to answer the question, who do I want consciously? Who do I want to impress? Who do I want to be recognized by for my achievements? Who do I want to get the attention of? Who do I want to seduce? Who do I want to make laugh and to please and to make joyful? These are the European gods and goddesses. And who am I afraid to disappoint? Who am I afraid of being rejected by? Who am I afraid to be to be rejected and to be laughed at? These are also the European gods, and this is maybe the Odin Baldur Loki aspect. So in a sense, my pagan worldview makes perfect sense, but then my Christian worldview, so yeah, here it's kind of clear intellectually. This definition of love, namely, I want to impress, I want to seduce, I want to be admired, I want to be recognized, I want to bring joy and laughter for the good, and simply joy and to have conversation. This is with you, and it implies my love of America, because most of you are Americans or American citizens, and also my love of Europe, because Varg, Marie, Carol, you are on European continent, and our story, if I talk about the community, is European through and through, one might say. But then I have a problem in my mind. I mean, there is what I call Europe, which is not the continent, not... it's Europe as the tender aspect of the soul, which I know you all possess, and I possess this as well. And then there is Germany, which is the kind of totalitarian, not only, but the kind of strength, and it can be negative in this view. And I know that you are all Europeans, anthropologically, culturally, religiously. But my question, my moral torment is, are you Europeans And in this sense, I just want to love you tenderly and etc. Or are you Germans? And Germany includes kind of the sometimes the negative aspect, etc. But here it's the competitive aspect. In what I call Europe, there is not this competition. It's just tender love. That's the soul in a way. I mean, also there is actually it's maybe there is as well. Maybe they coincide at some point. I don't know, but. My question is, are you Germans or are you Europeans? You are both, and both coincide eventually, but if I say to the European gods and goddesses, you are Germans for me, it means the highest responsibility is placed on our shoulders, which actually are my shoulders, but I have to exteriorize this onto others. We are the most responsible. That's a burden, but also a gift. Yeah. That's the serious aspect of Germany. And in this sense, I partly think of you as German because I know that you are the best intellectually and you are the most brilliant, but my problem, here I speak, I don't know, to myself, to God, I don't know. To be the best is kind of a burden. And here is all my suffering, namely, it's kind of clear that there is a tendency in my psyche. Let us bring the yin and yang between what I call love with no expectations. I love you, whatever you do, I love you, which I find is kind of derogatory, but it's also kind of anti-Christian because it opposes acceptance and love, etc. And then there's the other aspect, which is demanding, namely, I love you. I can say that to others, but I love you if you perform, if you are up to the standards, if there are requirements in a way. And I have suffered as an empirical individual from being loved with no expectations. And of course, why do I complain? But because precisely here's my competitive self that I cannot deny exists. And the way of solving the problem, I try to deceive Hegel, but he anticipates, I guess. I can only accept the others and myself if I accept in myself the fact that the will to achieve and to be competitive is a part of myself. Is it clear? I don't know. It's clear for me in the sense that this is what I suffer from, basically. If I had to be poetic, I would say that the negative within God, evil with whom I identify in my negative moments, maybe if I had to be, here I talk to God, maybe it's an excess of love in a way, in the sense that my problem is not to say, oh, I'm the negative, I hate you all. Although sometimes maybe it's the case. The problem is, I love you all, but this is enough to be negative because there has to be a hierarchy. And here I formulate the problem as clearly as I can. It's not that I can't speak, it's that I'm seeking the proper on an individual level, I suffer from a sense of lack of achievement. And on an individual level, what I experience as myself as an individual, and here I talk to the good God. I've understood that, or maybe I'm deluding myself, I don't know, but God wants to be me, or actually He wants me to love myself and I have made maybe a mistake, I don't know, but I have kind of despised myself for a very long time. That's my Christian self. I hate everything about me because I am a sinner, I am shameful, Satan, whatever. And then that's my Christian self where I negate everything because not I negate everything, but I have a negative relationship to everything because I feel guilty, I feel embarrassing, I feel pathetic, etc., etc. And God, as I understand this as of now, He wants me somehow, or He would like, I don't know. Here, that's the insanity. To accept myself for who I am. Acceptance. And at some point I have to accept everything. But and I guess that I will be somehow tormented morally and physically until I accept who or what I am. I've understood this. But what I think of being as myself, and maybe I'm deluding myself, implies an attempt to here's the insanity. I don't know if God wants me to be miserable or to be joyful. Let's be joyfully miserable, or miserably joyful. No, seriously. When I... Here's my problem, and then I will stop the video. I just formulate my problem. If I have to love myself, what I love the most about myself is when I can be myself, namely to make jokes, but not just to laugh at myself and my pathetic aspect, but to make the others laugh, and also to be kind of masculine in a good sense, to be confident, to be yeah. And this kind of being myself, also to be partly emotional, romantic, this I associate with my teenage romance. And if I had to be this good version of myself that I have to accept, this would be with Apollonian Germ, Caroline, Stella, the European gods, etc., with whom I want to... these are the people that I feel I can be myself. They would understand me. They would understand my jokes, etc., etc. But then I have a Christian self That would be my pagan self in a way. And then I have a Christian self, which consists in a trying to appease all the conflicts and to take the blame for everything. So I would say, that's why I hate Christianity. No, but I identify as a Christian, Protestant, etc. But Christianity is the religion, the perspective which makes me feel constantly ashamed, tormented, worthless, pathetic. And this is here that's the insanity maybe. My Christian self is the self which wants to negate myself, to negate my life, to negate life, while thinking that it's good because existence is shameful. Yeah. And so here's the insanity. The forces of death in me are on the Christian side. I want to negate life because of shame, guilt, remorse, sense of being a failure, etc., etc. I really have this Christian self in me, and the forces of life, they are on the pagan side, and life here means kind of a Nietzschean without the excesses, but also a struggle, but in a joyful way. I mean, it can be negative, but it's competitiveness, struggle, laughter for the good. It can be for the bad, but the will to assert life. So my end here in the perspective Christ versus anti-Christ. My anti-Christian self is pagan, but in the sense of the forces of life and positivity, and my Christian self is on the side of death and negativity. So I will conclude, because I intend to make another video. Maybe I won't, I don't know, but who do I want to impress? Through my will, I want to impress Nietzsche. Through my intelligence, I want to impress Hegel, and through my morality, I want to impress Kant. This really the truth. Kant, Hegel, Nietzsche, these are the three archetypes, the three persons, the three ideas, whatever, that I want to impress. In the realm of really metaphysics. So actually that's maybe my real truth, namely what and also Martin Luther, when I say, oh, I will be a Protestant, I speak the truth, I think about Luther, which is partly derived from Kant, to act out of principle without regard for the consequence. So here I know this truth. Metaphysically, I'm a German, and I want to impress the Germans. And in this sense, I cannot look as equals or look down on the German metaphysicians. I include Nietzsche as a metaphysician, but here in this sense, I always look upward when I think about the Germans, the German philosophers. And even the what I call the great Germans, Martin Luther, and those whose names shall not be mentioned, but for me, the Germans, really, I always look upward. And not the Germans of Germany, of the current Germany, but really what I call the historical figures, I look upward. And in this sense, they really are, I am the son, and my real family, they are the Germans that I try to be accepted. I am when I'm negative, I say I am the embarrassing child of the German metaphysical family. And here I talk to God, inspired by Martin Luther. If there is another side or heaven or whatever, I do not really believe that there is. Or maybe there is a moment where all knowledge is gathered in unity and we can have access. I don't know how it is, but really, here's my truth. I am certain who I want to be loved by, and here that's a very subtle distinction. The question: who do you love, and who do you want to be loved by? I want to be loved by the European gods and goddesses, Apollonian Germ, Stella, Caroline, Varg, Marie. I act, not always, maybe that's maybe my evil, I don't know, but I act sometimes or most of the time consciously to try to impress you, because I want you to love me, not for who I am, but for what I achieve in a way. And I'm trying to impress you, to seduce you, etc. That's the competitive aspect of love. And the other question is who I want to be loved by. So I want to be loved by you, but also by the German metaphysicians. And in this sense, expressed in ordinary language, of course I love Kant, Nietzsche, Hegel, and Heidegger, and Fichte, Schelling, but the idea that they might love me as an empirical individual or whatever is completely ludicrous, because I really feel completely worthless in comparison to them. And I know that it's impossible. That's really a delusion, that they imagine that there will be, they will be, or there might be somewhere in some other side or other realm or whatever, talking to them, etc. But my conscious decisions are inspired most of the time by the attempt to impress Hegel intellectually, Kant morally, and Nietzsche in terms of willpower and the joyful aspect of existence. So these really are the three archetypes, and then also, like I said, the others, but yeah. Here I will conclude, because I intend to make another, I will conclude what inspired the intention to make this video is that I am so disconnected from ordinary reality, because my standards, I'm not saying that I can achieve to reach my standards. Precisely the reason why I suffer is that I don't succeed. That's precisely the root of all my suffering. But the standards that I set myself in terms of what do I want to achieve, these are the standards of Kant, Hegel, and Nietzsche, and Heidegger, Leibniz, maybe, Böhm, Fichte, Schelling, Schopenhauer, and the German philosophers, basically. But I think mostly about Kant, Hegel, Nietzsche. Yeah, so my standards. I'm not saying that I reach the standards precisely. I'm saying I don't, and that's why I suffer so much, and probably that's why I make others suffer as well. But the standards that I'm seeking to achieve are the standards of these people, in terms, not just like I said here. Maybe that's partly delusional. I'm not trying to be respected as being writing as good books as good as them. Why do I write such good books? Would say Nietzsche, but precisely that would be my just scholarly, boring side. Hegel in maybe not my best moments, but I try to impress Nietzsche in terms of asserting my will to power. It's not necessarily negative will. That's Nietzschean to say there are various ways of asserting one's will, but I want to be recognized as being able to be masculine. My masculine assertive self is Nietzschean. My moral self, I try to do good and to be a Kantian, and many of my decisions are motivated by an attempt to impress Kant. And my intellectual self, I'm trying to compete with Hegel, but I have given up. I've given up on trying to be on the standards of Hegel in terms of intellectual production for the sake of pleasing Kant in terms of morality, because renouncing any sort of standards of intellectual rigor is a Kantian decision, which is costly, and the joy of appreciating suffering in the joy in suffering, that's probably Nietzschean, but there are these three archetypes in my mind. Yeah, so I would just say what I think. That I try to act like a Kantian. It's very difficult because maybe it's impossible. I don't know. Nietzsche would say, "I told you so." Kant is an imposter. No, but seriously, the will to be a Kantian is a Nietzschean will to power in a way. That's why Nietzsche is kind of flexible. No, seriously. My suffering. I will complain, oh, I suffer, but when I have these kind of joyful moments, when I'm alone in front of my computer and I speak and I have outbursts of joy and laughter and that's what I call being me in the best moments. I can be joyful, make good jokes, etc. But if I'm just all alone and if no one can even hear or laugh at my jokes, and here that's my problem. That's my evil. Who is intelligent enough? That's my arrogant self, maybe, that I suffer, or maybe not. But that's the... If I say, oh, I am too intelligent, that I'm being called arrogant. But yeah, who can watch this video and get the jokes and find them funny and be on the same wavelength as me? Another outside of myself. It has to be the European gods and goddesses. You don't know about Nietzsche and Hegel and Kant from a formal standpoint, except Apollonian Germ. But precisely, maybe I want to introduce you, I don't know, but... and if I cannot, then I'm all alone with the remnants of what, I don't know, I don't know. And also, let's talk about the Germans. My favorite band. My European, here I will try to express myself. Maybe those other than myself who watch this, they may be able to enlighten me at some moment, if it's not at some moment. What I call Europe is, in the realm of pop music, in terms of bands, Evanescence, Muse, Paramore, that's really what I call Europe. What I call Germany, there's only one Germany, this is Rammstein. And Rammstein, they know me because they are Germans. So I wouldn't say that they are my favorite band, because spontaneously I would rather listen to Paramore, Muse, or Evanescence, etc. In terms of bands, not in terms of individual artists. But Rammstein, really, they express the contradictions of Germany. So, in a sense, yeah, I love them. They are typically German, and yeah. And here I'm in a good mood. Thanks to Germany, maybe. The world is kind of wonderful. I will not always say this, but when if I had to talk to God and say, if He said, I just want you to be yourself, but being myself implies talking alone in front of a computer about Germany, about Europe, about the categories. I haven't talked about the categories in this video because I'm intelligent enough to recognize myself, my various aspects of myself in the various videos that I produce. And when I start talking about the categories and giving lectures, this is my scientific, negative Hegelian self, but it's also kind of what I enjoy doing. But I also enjoy talking like this when I'm joyful, etc. But here I will. It will be too long, but the people who love me, they will watch the video. Those who don't, well, I will watch my own video. Probably I will be one of the very few, but I will explain what has been happening over the past few days. No, actually, I know what has been. I will make another video of, yeah. Basically, if I have to I will be positive about myself. If others can watch my videos in English, others than myself, they will find enlightenment and joy and satisfaction in some of my videos, and they will love me for being who I am, namely to be positive with my jokes, etc., etc. And this is the kind of love that I receive, which, because sometimes I don't love being loved because I want to be loved for who I am. And here maybe that's part of the audience, I don't know, but when I I will speak ordinarily. That's my Lutheran Kantian self. I receive love and affection I have received recently. I take empirical examples. A person who wrote me a letter because I had made a gift in food stamps. Well, I appreciate, but this is the kind of love. It's this part of my insanity. But when I receive this kind of love, when I receive this kind of love, precisely, of course I'm happy. Or if I can bring good to you, that's okay. But the kind of love that I want to receive, maybe I will never be able. Maybe that's the tragedy of love. I don't know. That's why love hurts. Is another, not just one, but many others, who can watch my videos in English and say, whoa, your jokes about the German metaphysician, they are really good. That is being who I am, that I would really enjoy. And if I make jokes, I do not plan my jokes. Sometimes I do. But if really God wants me to be me, being me implies, here that's part of the insanity, because I have tried to and I will still try to start a revolution in France, to bring about, what do I want to bring about? Just attention to my videos in English, so that the Americans might watch them, and yeah, that's really the insanity. And here I think about Stella. That's maybe my best self being me. Stella, you will not watch this, maybe, I don't know, but... Or the Americans, I have attempted to start a revolution, a political revolution in France, just to get attention, so that English-speaking persons, and eventually Americans, might watch my videos, and I said to myself, I will do this because I want to be decent, worthy of the Americans, namely, I have to become my own American, but being, in a sense, my own revolution, independence, etc., which makes me focus on my empirical life, but I don't really care about most of the things that people care about. If I could share what I think really is the best in me as an empirical individual, these would be my videos where I am joyful because I make spontaneous jokes about German metaphysics, or when I bring enlightenment, because I'm intelligent enough to know. I made a video yesterday or in the middle of the night, I don't know, but the previous video on this channel about the categories, and it's really good intellectually, although I did this spontaneously with almost no preparation. I prepared, but not very much. But if Americans of America could watch this video and understand my understanding of the bell curve, the scientific process of acquiring knowledge, the structure of American society with inequality, if they could do this and say, whoa, he's really smart. For the good, because I can be smart, yeah, but this is the problem of love, because there is love, what I call contractual love, and what I call spontaneous love. I know that my divine self, I have to love everything and everyone out of moral duty, contract, etc., etc., because they enable the good, etc., etc. So everyone is forgiven, everyone will be loved, don't worry, etc. But really, what I have to do this, I want to be loved for who I am in my negativity, and what I call my negative self is this self, namely the self which makes jokes about the German metaphysician, but also the kind of just the intelligence and the will to impress Kant and Nietzsche and Hegel, etc., and also the I don't know. Because trying to be a Kantian, I have tried for a couple of days and it has brought me nothing but trouble. I told you so, would say Nietzsche. No, but seriously, if I am a Kantian, it's impossible. To be a rigorous Kantian means to speak the truth out of duty, but it means I have to. The truth is a totality. That's where Hegel intervenes. To speak the truth to who? To whom? To the first person that I encounter in the street? No, because he would consider I am a madman and I would be sent into a mental asylum. And maybe I'm partly afraid of getting there, but actually not really. I don't know. Precisely, who do I owe the truth to? To God. But God is the totality. And here that's my negative self, because I speak in English, that's the most widespread language. I've tried to speak in French and I will keep trying speaking French, but I feel good when I can speak English about metaphysics, Anglo-Saxon science and the European gods, and I feel bad when I have to speak in French. But then my view of Christianity implies that when I feel bad it's good, when I feel good it's bad. Here I will conclude by doing something, I don't know. My videos are worth watching. If I have to love myself, this is good and I'm being positive. And if I am negative, I'm being arrogant by promoting my videos. But if I am Christian negative, I have to negate whatever. It's become too complex. But basically, yeah, that's what I think. I am deceiving and lying and cheating and manipulating and betraying because I speak English on the internet to no one directly. So in a way that's an attempt to escape from my own reality, but I could try to speak my truth even in a lowered down way to individual people, but it would require that I would speak for many hours directly to a person, while I would have to make all the mediations. The result of, for me, it's 6 years of intellectual development, plus the rest of my intellectual process earlier in my life, but 6 years of what I call intellectual awakening. It would be way too complex. So am I trying to escape from complexity, or and here this is part of my negative epistemological self, namely I project onto others the inability to understand what I have to say, because here there was from empiricism. Whenever I try to talk, even slightly, I have given up on the rigor. But when I speak what I want to express in ordinary language, it's too difficult. And here that's really my negative self, when I become negative in many ways, because I said to myself, but I am completely misunderstood because when I here, that's really my Hegelian self for the not for the good or bad, but just my Hegelian self, namely my intellectual self. And that's when I think about Apollonian Germ, when I think about you are, in the sense, you are like me because you are intellectually demanding. That's why I love you so much, but to love someone so much, this brings about negativity because it's an excess, but I will stop the video here. I will make another video about the question of race to express myself honestly. And here I am frustrated because I have so many interesting things to say. If I could speak just normally, it would be in English or even in French, but to an English speaking artist, I would have very interesting things to say on all topics. But why don't I do this? Because I have the Kantian moral imperative of going out every day to try to spread my truth with my empirical surroundings, because I have to take care of my empirical self, etc. Because the singular, the universal, the particular, etc. But then I encounter nothing but negativity, and it's a constant struggle. But I have to accept the struggle and the difficulty, so I try to solve the contradictions by going out in the real world, out of a sense of moral duty, but it brings nothing but problems. And then to speak English on the internet to what I think is predominantly an American audience, but actually it's valid for most people because the English language is the most widespread, etc., etc. I feel joyful when I can speak English, and I feel in a constant struggle, suffering, moral suffering, etc., when I have to speak French. But my German standards of duty and my American standards of duty, I am inspired by the Germans and the Americans in struggling morally, which eventually brings about physical suffering at some moment. But I just want others to. Or if I say I do this to do that, I am trying to justify myself. I know myself, but I have the opportunity to speak. I know why I do what I do, because I try to obey certain standards of morality. And here, maybe I'm becoming insane, but I have to confront my fears. But I am afraid of pretty much everything. No. Because I am everything. No, seriously. God knows what I'm afraid of, but I have so many contradictory fears. But basically, I can list all my fears because it's logically impossible to... that they all might come true at the same time. It's impossible because I'm afraid of disappointing everyone, including God, including myself, including all others. At some various moments I have to disappoint everyone, but it's logically impossible, because really when I feel really negative, I just go on YouTube or just outside, and when I find happy people, I am joyful, because I say maybe at some moment I am responsible. If I am God in some plane of existence, I am responsible for all their joys, and that's my way. Even if they don't know about me, that's a way to say to myself, I brought joy to the world, whether or not people know about me. I can live with myself because I have this in me. But yeah. But what I mean is... speaking English about science, German metaphysics, the European tradition, is what makes me joyful and happy, etc., etc. But I am intelligent enough to understand that there cannot be only good aspects in life, there has to be negativity. So speaking French to the French, in French, while talking about American science and German metaphysics, and it's some sort of a sacrifice that I make, because I know I have to accept the negative aspect of life. But I am afraid of being misunderstood, being rejected, being hated, being of all those things. But it cannot. Not everyone can hate me or misunderstand me or whatever. It's just that what I call epistemological evil. If I can speak to the what I call the real God, I imagine an all-knowing, but maybe this all-knowing entity cannot speak, but can communicate through thought. I don't know, but what I call epistemological evil is that I tend to be evil. This is chronologically, this is how, not how it began, but my first really negative experience. It's because I projected a lot of intelligence onto others, the system, as they call this. And then came chronologically moral evil in me. After I had encountered epistemological evil, namely I was confronted by a very difficult situation simply because I had uncovered the rational functioning of reality in a way. And I've understood that I tend to project, in the sense I am psychotic, I tend to project scheming and manipulation onto others. And for me, scheming and manipulation is partly evil, but it's kind of I would say noble evil. No, but on a moral standpoint, there are really things that, well, are really negative, but really evil and really, which are a part of the totality, so a part of me, but evil in a sense of manipulation and scheming, it's kind of respectable in a way because it requires a lot of intelligence and a lot of a lot of abilities. That's why though, but it's I suffer really because I project onto others intentions in the realm of scheming and manipulation that they do not possess, and that I project this onto others because I am too intelligent in a way. And here the pathetic aspect is that I know that in a way I hurt God and God hurts me, but when I feel hurt by God, the substance or the negative experiences of my life, my human self says, I deserve this, that's my Christian perspective, I deserve to be hurt because I'm an embarrassment, etc., etc. But sometimes I say, but maybe I hurt God because I am, so yeah, maybe no, how should I explain this? That's really my religious problem. The idea that what I call myself, my empirical self, that I might hurt God seems completely ludicrous, because up until a few months ago, many months ago, I thought, but why would God be interested in me? Why would... So that's when I really did not understand the negative, etc. But that's why here I am kind of... I have a problem with religious people in the sense that the idea that there is a God who checks everything about everyone. Oh, you drank a glass of wine on the 26th of April 2014. I remember this. Now I will punish you. I don't know if really there is this God. That's why. If I have to be God at some moment, maybe I will be the best God ever, because the kind of things that people are frightened of. Here I don't know. I speak what I think, whatever. But here I will make fun of the religious people. Let's be funny for a while. The Christians and the Muslims and the Jews who have lived their entire life in constant fear of God. God will judge us. We have to be super rigorous, etc., etc. If I had the thought about having sex with this attractive woman, or if I cheated on my wife, or if I was partly an alcoholic, or well, there are things which are a little bit more problematic. But if I lied at some moment or deceived to one person, whatever, depending, if I cheated my financial taxes or whatever, or if I whatever. The idea that God might punish you for whatever these kind of sins that the ordinary Christians, Muslims, Jews think they have perpetrated, for me it's kind of ludicrous. Maybe I'm deluding myself, but it's kind of ludicrous in a sense that here it's connected with what I said earlier in the video, the kind of fear that I have, the kind of torment that I, moral torment that I encounter is, I'm not afraid of saying alcohol, cigarettes, watching porn, etc. The kind of fear that I have, and I am afraid that God will punish me, and I will have to encounter, to endure the pain of the negative, etc., etc. But is just to be able to say, I am attracted, that's what I said, I experience desire and attraction. I just want to say I love you to another without betraying, etc., etc. I just want to be a good person, to act consistently, morally, according to Kantian principle, but I fail because it's really difficult, it's contradictory, etc. These are the kind of questions that I ask myself, and the kind of suffering that I experience. So here I will be positive. If at some moment I have to be God, if I have to judge others, if you have been an alcoholic, cigarettes, etc., I really don't care. I really don't. You will not be punished. You already have been punished in a way. But that's why here I am sure of this. Whatever I am not here to judge others. Although I have judged others and I will keep doing this, but simply because I want to exteriorize my negativity so that it come back at me, so that others might judge me. But in this sense, if I think of myself as being the moral judge, etc., I am Nietzschean in a sense. I really don't care. I really don't care what others do, but I care about myself, of what I allow the others to do, in the sense that these are my own moral standards in a way that are being broken. But the others as individual selves, what they experience as individual selves, I really don't care what they have done in terms of what they consider sins according to the religions. And in the sense, they should stop living in fear. They will say, oh, you are the devil, you are trying to contradict what God said in the Bible or whatever. The idea that, here that's the insanity, because I don't know, but basically, I will try to be consistent and coherent. It's not always easy, but here that's the unity of morality and hypocrisy. Maybe that's very Hegelian, I don't know, but I will conclude the video on this, because this is the truth of what I am. It explains a lot about my morality, about my evil, about my good maybe as well. I can accept many things in others. That's really the good aspect of me, that I accept what most people would consider sins in their own perspective. But the problem, so that's my good aspect, acceptance, etc. But the problem is that I accept for others what I would not accept for myself. So my standards are much lower for others than they are for myself when I have the intention of trying to perform either morally or intellectually or in any endeavor. When I say to myself, okay, now I take this seriously, then I have standards for myself, and that's why I've understood this. Recently, and here it's very profound, although kind of dumb, but the unity, no, it's really seriously, it's very profound in a sense that I have understood how to express this. Maybe only God, the real God, not because when I say not the real God, I say who is the real God? No, the all-knowing principle. Maybe only He understands my suffering. I will be honest. Kant, one way of hurting others is to have low expectations or no expectations. And this is what an aspect of Christian love is, to accept the other indifferently in a way. And I have a problem with this, which is my anti-Christian self. And here God knows, in this, I don't have to play the role of, I just have to be me. That's the problem, maybe. That I am a hypocrite, in a way. Not, yeah, I mean a hypocrite because I accept and tolerate what I call mediocrity. Mediocrity can either be in a derogatory sense, like, okay, it's not really good, or in an ordinary sense, I mean, it's just in the middle, yeah. In others, that I would not tolerate for myself if I really cared, in this sense. Which, that's why saying I love you or I accept you to the other is a way to hurt the other. But to say I refuse, this is not acceptable, it's also a way to hurt the other. So whatever I say or whatever I do, I hurt the others. But I suffer on an empirical level. What I suffer from is that I have always received love, so why do I suffer? Everyone wants to be loved. But my problem is that I have never been recognized for achieving, in terms of intellect, performance, masculine endeavor, and this explains why I am so attracted by the Hyperboreans, but also the European gods and goddesses. Varg and Carol, and Apollonian Germ, and Survive the Jive, and Oleg for the masculine aspect, and the others, and the female aspect as well. Because you are demanding, and yeah. But then, of course, when the requirements become too high, then I regret and I retreat into my negative Christian self. Say, yeah, but I maybe I have this tendency in me to I want to be challenged intellectually, because this is where I think I am the best in a way, or maybe not, because I can be very stupid, but in terms of intellect and will and strength, etc., to be challenged by people that I consider to be my equals, yeah. That's my competitive self. That's why a part of me wants to antagonize you, not because I have a problem with you, or maybe because I love you, but I want others to be able to understand this, and this really is borderline insanity, but as of now, consciously, the persons that I love the most I would say Caroline and Apollonian Germ, because I've spent the past 7 months with you in thought most of my days. Why would I want to antagonize you? Because consciously, I just, if I say I would like, or if I say I want, does it change? Does it make a difference? I would say I want, we'll see if it works or not. I want to be peacefully and joyfully with you, but not empirically, not physically, because I cannot and I don't want to travel to the US or to Antarctica to say hello, let's have a peaceful discussion. It's not gonna happen in this way. But consciously, I want to be in joy and in peace with you. So why would I say this, which I mean this, but also why would I want to kind of antagonize you? But because I kind of imagine a erotic tension with Caroline and masculine relationship with Apollonian Germ, but of course I just want the good aspects. I mean, the good aspect, it includes part of suffering, but the kind of challenging, like the competitive aspect. But of course it can go astray and becomes really negative, and that's where I am afraid to hurt you while accepting that you might hurt me back. But my intention, I don't know what's, but it's just to have a competition, kind of aristocratic, but then it can degenerate, but simply to antagonize people that I respect, that I admire, and that I love. And that's my view of love. An aspect of my view of love, I need to have expectations, and when I am challenged by Caroline, I enjoy it, a part of me enjoy it, because there's a little fight in you. I know where it comes from, but also you're gonna love me or whatever. So there's this. Here I will be true to maybe to myself. No? The Joker, Harley Quinn, but also Batman, Catwoman. This type of relationship, I think about this with Stella and Caroline and Scarlett. But then there is just the what I call the Christian love, which is another aspect, which is just to accept things as they are, and this is the I would say the bureaucratic. Oh, I have to love. Okay, I love everything because yeah. In a way, I do, but I have this negative impulse towards competition that I whatever. It's so complex. It's so complex. And it like there I'm in a mood to laugh, but it hurts so much morally. Every day, a struggle, a moral torment caused by love. That's the tragedy of God. I don't know, the suffering of God is that it's love which caused me so much suffering, because I feel I have and here I will be honest. The others, that I wanted to make another video, and maybe I won't, maybe I will not. The others in terms of anthropology. Ethnic others, in ordinary language, non-Europeans, anthropologically, or non-whites. I kind of love them for many reasons, but also I am indifferent for many reasons as well, and I can be negative for many reasons as well. But my relationship, this is my truth in a way, my relationship to non-whites is conditioned and determined by my relationship to whites, in the sense that it is always because I am trying to impress Europeans, whites, whoever they are, that I love the others in a way. The way I explain this is, in this sense, I am racist for good or bad, but in the sense that race is really important for me, because my relationship to non-Europeans, anthropological non-Europeans, is determined by my relationship to Europeans in terms of what I admire in the other is what I would want, or what I want for my own people. What I dislike in the other, the non-white sort of behavior, is what I don't want for my own people. When I love them, I love non-whites spontaneously for their achievements, their strengths, their creativity, their talent. It's I love them spontaneously, but I spontaneously love more what white people do. Not all of them, but in the same standards. The example, if I have to illustrate, Rihanna, I spontaneously love her music, her character, her personality. But then I love Rihanna, of course, because she's great. But I spontaneously love more Lady Gaga in a way. And the anthropological aspect is important. So here, even when I try to be positive, there's also always a part of a negative. So this is my way of formulating the point, in the sense that I always love Europeans more, but that's why I suffer. So Europeans, anthropological Europeans, they make me suffer, and my passions are more intense, for good or bad, with Europeans, which is a blessing and a curse for non-Europeans, and a blessing and a curse for Europeans as well. Love, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. These are the Americans who inspire me, these kind of profound jokes. I will be honest, without going into too much complexity. I want good, because I've thought about this most of the day. I want good for non-Europeans, but this will to want the good for them is inspired by my European standards. I'm not saying that I can fit the standards and achieve, but what drives me, the will, the intention, the struggle to do good for non-Europeans is inspired by my European standards. That's how I can formulate this. Because, for instance, I want blacks to succeed in America, and I want Muslims, I thought about this, to succeed in Europe. Not here, it's my good and evil at the same time. Not because I spontaneously love blacks or Muslims or others, but because I love Europe as an idea, and it implies that I want others to succeed in a way, but not at the expense of what I consider my own people, but it is part of the ethical standards of what I call my own people, namely anthropological Europeans, to want others to succeed by their own effort. But I am genuinely tormented morally regarding the question of race, because in a way I am kind of indifferent on an empirical level to most non-whites, but when the more I care about what I call Europeans, my own people, the more I care about others, because I set myself standards, namely that I want others to find satisfaction in life. It's not necessarily material satisfaction. It can be spiritual, religious, whatever. I want them to find joy in existence, because I want Europeans and European standards to these are European standards which motivates me, force me, drives me to want the good for non-Europeans. Basically, that's how I can express this. And in this sense, the joy of non-Europeans, when it is genuine, it's a genuine joy for me, But I can't help but associate this with the idea of Europe, which is Germany, the European soul, but also Germany, etc. So expressed empirically, because this is what I've been thinking about for the past few days, and I could speak this. I mean, not during 2 hours and 30 minutes, but that's what I try to express to non-whites whenever I encounter them. I do not express this as a complex way, but if I had to, I'd say I want the good for you, because I can only feel good about myself if you feel good about yourself, but my attempt to feel good about myself is driven by an attempt to achieve the moral standards, whether they are set by Kant or Luther or Ozin or the white inside leftist. My moral standards, my will to do good is driven by European ideals and standards. Yeah. And sometimes I think about non-whites joyfully, about the Indian monks, like a Sadhguru or the Buddhist monks, or even Afro-Americans or African wise people from Africa or whatever, wise non-whites who have attained a state of peace and joy. I want them to watch my videos eventually, and when they understand the kind of the complexity. I already thought about this 3 years ago. The complexity, which goes inside the mind, in my mind actually, but as representative of white people or Europeans. My ideal is that some non-whites, maybe most of them, will say at some moment, "Thank God we are not Europeans," but in a joyful way, really in an innocent and genuine and joyful way, because there is so much moral torment within me. And I've reached a point where I say, whether or not I deserve is not relevant, because I genuinely suffer morally. I'm genuinely being tormented constantly. And my way out of this constant moral torment is to do my duty moral by going outside and trying to express myself in French, and to relieve the suffering by speaking in English to what I imagine is an American audience. Predominantly, but actually I know that it's potentially everyone, but will conclude by saying that I know that what I call God, the all-knowing, in this sense, I am not God because I'm not all-knowing, but the all-knowing principle. He knows in real time what I think, what I hope, what I'm afraid of, what I consciously try to do to impress others, to feel good about myself, to bring joy to others, to do good. And he knows what I suffer from morally, etc., which I myself do not know because I keep getting smarter every day, so I discover new things. And I'm being constantly morally tormented because I don't know who or what I am. What am I allowed to do? I do not. I try to justify myself. This is why I make these videos sometimes, and I know that that's my excess of intelligence. I know I'm intelligent enough to understand that someone who is trying to justify himself is not at peace with himself. So in a way I'm too intelligent, although I'm kind of dumb. But I don't know what... and here God, the real God, knows that I don't know. Am I defined by what I have said or not said, what I have done or not done, what I have thought or not thought? What defines me? I try when I think as a Kantian, I'm not sure, maybe it's a Nietzsche, but I have to be defined by my actions. This is what I do, which is important, not what I think, I have said, etc. But my conflict here, I'm not trying to justify myself because it's a genuine conflict, or maybe I am, but between courage and recklessness. I try daily to be courageous, to assert my will and my strength, and my Kantian moral self, but there is courage, and here maybe I'm trying to justify myself, but there is courage and there's insanity, and I know that if I wanted really to make my truth, but precisely that would not really be my truth. I could go out and encounter the first person outside and say, "Oh, let me talk to you about God, the end times, etc., etc." I would, So would it be courageous or completely reckless? by my standard, this would be completely reckless, because I wouldn't want others to do this, so I try not to do this as well. So I'm consciously trying to bring in balance and measure and common sense in my life without giving up on. So I'm trying to I'm trying to be good on all aspects, while I keep renouncing many aspects. I do not. I've given up on trying to improve my system. I give up partly on the rigor, which I think is morally right, because I think that's what the real God expects me to do. But I have a conflict in me between weakness and the need to be helped by God. That's my what I call my Christian self. When I think of myself as being the son of God, I look upward and I say, hey, I need help. I mean, I don't do this, but that's how I think. And then I have my more assertive self when I'm more confident. And that's what I would call my pagan self. But I understand, I'm smart enough to understand that both aspects have to exist, but I have to favor one over the other, and maybe one brings about the other. I don't know. Here it's yeah, but because I have been traumatized by an attempt. Many times it happened, but it happens once. I've already said the story. My attempt to seduce Stella empirically, etc., etc. I intentionally tried to do good, and it backfired really negatively. And ever since, I've been very skeptical. That's, I am negative because I've been hurt. Yeah, but by a process that I do not understand. And here it's not even a moral process, it's what I call maybe dialectical, but maybe morality is derived from dialectics, I don't know. But this is my insanity, is that I don't know who or what I am, and I would be honest, I need help, but I need to talk with another who has the same intellectual references, but maybe it's not possible, so I have to make my own choices. That's my American self, self-made. Although I keep borrowing ideas from others, I am self-made morally, with all my bankruptcy, moral bankruptcy, but I conclude the video. In order to feel good morally and to be at peace eventually, I have to be honest. But the conflict is that I cannot share the same degree of honesty with everyone at the same time, in the same place, in the same language, etc., etc. But here it's not an attempt to justify myself, but I am trying to forge in my mind a truth that I could potentially be able to speak to anyone, but it can how should I explain this? I know how to explain this, namely, there are people who have gone through the process of mediation, let's call it that way. The European gods and goddesses, they have gone through the mediation, and that's why I love you and I'm so attracted by you, Apollonian Germ, Caroline, and all the others, because with you, if you watched my video, you would understand. I wouldn't have to the problem, put very simply, my truth, my intellectual and spiritual process. I could talk with a random person and explain to him, but it would take 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe an entire month, because it has taken me 6 years with a very high IQ, a lot of intensive training, etc. So I could speak my truth without misunderstanding, but my truth consists in saying that there are misunderstandings within the process, etc. But here I will acknowledge my weakness. I just want to be understood. But saying this requires that others understand all the steps of the process that I have gone through. And I feel joyful and virtuous and kind of courageous in a way. So all the aspects, while being slightly negative, when I can speak to others directly and speak relative amounts of truth about anthropology, psychology, gender relations, but also economics, philosophy, etc. But here it summarizes all my problems. I cannot speak the entire truth. I mean, maybe I will have to, but then it brings about really negative misunderstanding, which I already have done. But I try to speak relative amounts of truth in a diplomatic way. But here, being diplomatic is not weakness, it's kind of strength of character, namely to be intelligent and to have the will, etc. So it requires judgment in a good sense. And I have made mistakes. I have tried to speak the entire truth at the same time, while being rigorous, while I am morally tormented, intellectually conflicted. But I can be only at peace with myself as of now if I speak the truth in English to everyone potentially on the internet, also the truth in French to everyone speaking French, and also the truth, or parts of the truth, to ordinary people directly. But it's conflicting and contradictory, because people would have to hear about the entire story, and I know they won't, not all of them, not at the same time. And I have to accept the misunderstandings. God is very smart because he knows what I do in everyday life, and probably he knows why I do this, while I act spontaneously and I don't know why. But when I feel really down, I read Jean-Jacques Rousseau, my first intellectual hero, not my first hero. He's not a father figure. He's not a father figure. He's a hero. That's different. Stella, I know you had a picture of Jean-Jacques Rousseau in your room. That I noticed, yeah. And Rousseau, he tried to be good, and everyone hated him eventually. And I kind of identify with him when I try to appease my soul. Namely, I try to be good, but I try to be good with everyone, which brings negativity from everyone, because all the aspects of the past. Oh, you said this to him and not to me. You said this no and not to me. You betrayed me. Etc. I'm willing to acknowledge this, but I have genuinely tried to do good. Even my negativity, when I openly trash talk people, it was driven. I mean, it was kind of spontaneous sometimes, but it was driven by a will to exteriorize my negativity, so it come back at me, and then I can anticipate that I will find myself in a position at some moment where I say, but oh, I suffer, why do you make me suffer, the others? And they will say, but that's what you wanted. And then I'd say, yeah, that's true. But I didn't anticipate that, or maybe I did. This is kind of insane. Insane. And here God is very smart. He knows that when I really suffer about these kind of problems, which happen a lot, the way I appease myself is either thinking about Rousseau, he was good but misunderstood, or Nietzsche, I'm so full of light, I am blinding for the others, and you don't understand me, I'm a flame. I know that God knows that, but I can, yeah, Nietzsche. Yeah. And now a 3 hours long video that no one will watch, so I will complain, so I will try to make my videos famous by making shorter videos, etc. Here I will laugh, but basically I don't care about economics and politics, because but I try to bring about a libertarian revolution worldwide eventually, as long as there is a world, as long as there is politics, as long as I can act, just so that people find the time to watch my videos and then, or just to listen to me, and if they're, what do you want to tell us, I would say nothing special, I have nothing to say. Which is true, but actually the more I say I have nothing to say, the more there is this story, this insane narrative. But basically, if I have to be honest, and I can only be honest with the Americans and the English-speaking persons, although they don't receive my message, is that I don't care about politics and economics as such, and money, I don't care. That's why I'm annoyed when people thank me for giving them money or whatever. Although I know there are many people on this planet who suffer from poverty, etc., etc. But I just want to bring about the political conditions where people can do what is genuinely important: spirituality, meditation, thinking, knowledge. That's my good self. And here, whether or not I am here or I'm in another sphere, whatever, I really don't care. But I don't know what's going to happen. But this is the way I reconcile materialism and spirituality in the ordinary sense. I mean, the material world is only important to the extent that it enables to elevate oneself spiritually. That's the kind of the story that I tell myself, and I am at peace with the understanding, namely, I care about my empirical material self because it enables me to gain more time to think, to speak, but as such, maybe I'm trying to think, oh, I am good. No, but being accumulating material wealth, I have had this tendency in the forms of books, but I have really never been interested that much in economics as such. For me, my view of economics is political economy, in a sense that economics has to be derived from politics, and these are political goals, namely the organization of the collective life, which are the priority. And in this sense, that's why Jeff Deist and Charles Murray and Ron Paul, I love them so much because they understand that economics has to be subordinated to political values. I have so many interesting things to say. If I can speak in English, because I could say the same thing in French, but here's my problem. The French, they are very intelligent. I respect their intelligence, etc. But here the Americans are special because I will not talk for 3 hours again, but basically that's what I wanted to say, that the Anglo-Saxons, they are on a different level, and maybe my moral duty is to elevate the others in the French language, my native language, my empirical language, yeah. To elevate them to the level of the Americans, but I want the Americans to acknowledge that I'm trying to promote the best of America. The whole of America is good. Not always, maybe, but... I will conclude on a positive note. Maybe I am insanely in love with America, with Europe, with the world, with life, who knows. And only the Americans of European origin, like Eminem, can understand this. Here I will be a little bit evil. God is so great. I will not always say this, but God is so great that my evil is that I want to keep God for myself, which implies these kind of moments where I can speak freely and say what I think spontaneously. And in this sense, I am really the negative because I want to keep God for myself. No, but I want to share God, but here's my other negativity, that I'm not sure that people will understand the good aspects of God. I will conclude. By saying that at some moment I will have to forgive all the others. That's really here, that's Christianity, but beyond the opposition between what I call ordinary Christianity and paganism. It's the truth, maybe. I would have to forgive everyone else, and maybe to forgive myself, whoever or whatever I am, because really the speed at which the process goes, it's in a way it's too fast, and maybe that's why I don't know, we are one totality, and each individual possesses a fragment of the truth. There is the truth for the very intelligent, the less intelligent, etc., etc. And I don't know really, but I'll just say that when I think about God, in a profound way, maybe, I will end the video, and the problem is that God knows what I intend to do, because He's in my mind partly. The kind of music that I need to listen to give myself confidence or courage or whatever, the kind of books that I want to read but I don't, out of I will make a joke for very the select few outside of myself, if there are others who watch this eventually. What I want to do now, I would like to read Hegel. The books are just here, but next to Hegel there is Kant, and my Kantian self says to me, reading Hegel is morally wrong. So I use Kant against Hegel, but reading Kant, the purpose is not to read Kant, it is to act morally, and only Nietzsche knows this, so I will pick up a few pages by Nietzsche. And I imagine that Hegel is laughing about about the free, including himself, but yeah, really. And here, that's the I don't know how to qualify this, but I know that maybe as of now there is no other in the world. Maybe there will never be, I don't know, but if there had to be others who could kind of understand the kind of thinking that I go through in these moments, that would be footnotes to Plato, Zizek, and an Apollonian Germ, in a way. But the others, the European gods and goddesses, if they receive the formal training, and I will try to make it so that they will or whatever, but in another plane of existence, they are smart enough. Hyperborean Reflections, you are smart enough to understand philosophy without studying philosophy formally, because I've never studied philosophy formally. I've never even read fully Kant or Nietzsche, or not even partly. But you have the intelligence to understand this, and you have the references, and can I transform you? I think about Hyperborean Reflections as some sort of my apprentice for the good. Basically, all the other individuals, whoever they may be, whatever their level of intelligence, if given the proper circumstances, they could be trained and elevated to God consciousness for the better. But the problem is that it requires so much complexity, so everyone receives his partial amount of truth. I guess that's how it works. And I have ups and downs in terms of inspiration and yeah. And here I will conclude. I keep saying this, but hey, God is I don't know what to say. Up until a few months ago, I genuinely believed that I was psychologically the most dull, yeah. Dumb is intelligence. I thought that I was dumb at some moment in terms of quantitative intelligence, and actually as I am very smart. Then there can be dumb in terms of social intelligence. I still have to improve a lot. Maybe I won't. Maybe that's my problem. I don't know. But in terms of psychology, not IQ, but psychology, up until a few months ago, I genuinely believed that I was dull. Not dumb, but dull, and boring, and flat, and insipid. And now, a few months later, I have changed. Slightly, but actually I have improved and evolved, etc. But now I'm in the process of believing that I am actually way too complex. I am not dull and flat when I can speak, but That's the problem. I believe myself to be dumb and flat and insipid because the others, they are not interested in me, or if they are, it's for what I call the wrong reasons, namely just because they want me to talk about dull and boring and uninteresting things. But actually, maybe I am way too complex on a psychological level for the others to understand me. Maybe. I don't know. And love. Let us talk about love. I've talked about love for 3 hours. There are many types of love. And the kind of love that I feel as of now is a love for Zizek, which is a mixture of admiration and compassion, a mixture of spontaneous love but also intellectual love, because Zizek. Let's talk about Zizek. Slavoj. I know why you suffer, because you are appreciated for your jokes and your political stance, hard line, etc. This is why I appreciate you when I was a dumb teenager, and I still appreciate this in you. It's always great when you make a joke, dirty jokes about sex, jokes about the leftist, the white leftist, jokes about capitalism, Hegelian jokes, whatever. So yeah, that's great. Then there is the political, let's be more serious, etc. Then there is the intellectual content. And I understand you so well, Slavoj, because I know that you suffer because you ask yourself very profound questions that I ask myself as well, and because maybe you suffer from a lack of recognition for your intellectual content, because you produce great books that I haven't read. Maybe it's 23 p.m. Maybe I will grant myself the right to read books by Zizek for a few minutes, or maybe an hour, I don't know. I haven't tried to read Zizek consistently for many years, almost more than 5 or 6 or 7 years, I don't know. I've read passages here and there, but yeah. But I can anticipate that you suffer because people, they do not take you seriously intellectually, in a sense. They do not understand the depth of the question that you ask yourself. And in this sense, I love you infinitely because I identify with you in a way. But here, I'm in a mood where, not in a mood, in a level where I think that some of my jokes are really funny in a good sense, but no one laughs at my jokes. My political views, well, they are partly inspired by yours, the communist idea. And said that I am libertarian the way you are a communist, but I am also a communist the way you are a communist, and I would like you to be a libertarian the way I envision this, namely, I just do politics. In some moments, I just do politics, so that, yeah, I will speak to you, Zizek Slavoj, as an aristocrat. These people, they are not... let's do politics just so that the masses can have whatever they want, and that we, aristocrats of the soul, that's a mixture of Evola, Zizek, whatever, we can enjoy what is really important, namely reading good books. moments, seriously, Slavoj, in these moments, I love you infinitely, maybe because I understand you so well, and yeah. And here I will be a little bit negative, while at the same time being honest, and yeah. Yeah, I really simplify caricature. It's not how it is, but I caricature, but it's much more subtle than that. But one could say it's not to be taken seriously, but white people, they are privileged because they are wealthy, they steal the wealth from the others, etc., etc. And non-whites, they are miserable, they are exploited, etc., etc. That's the really stupid teenage white leftist view of economics. And I have partly held this view. Actually, there are white people who suffer economically, and there are non-whites who are well off economically. But of course, the quantitative proportion, they are in favor of whites, etc. And I know that if you had to quantify suffering, non-whites, they suffer much more materially from deprivation, lack, poverty, etc., etc. And I am here physically, I can endure, I mean, maybe I can't, but pain can be inflicted to my body as long as I'm here, and so that's my way of solving the problem. I am here, you can inflict pain upon me, whoever you are, yeah. So at some moment I would be able to say, I have suffered physically also, you are like me, etc., etc. I'm not gonna enjoy this, or maybe I will partly, I don't know, but I just want the others, all the others, maybe that's an attempt, maybe a successful attempt at some moment to solve just to speak the truth and to solve problems that white people, not all of them, but intelligent white people, they genuinely suffer in a way that no other people, not even the Jews, suffer. The level of complexity of the white psyche, and I'm not talking here about myself, but as many whites, genuinely in this sense, white people suffer more than any other people in terms of psychological torment, not in the moral sense, like torment because of sin or whatever, but torment because of inner conflict. And yeah, in this sense, white people, but in order to express this, to say, oh, white people, they suffer more than others, it's so complex because that's why I'm here. I don't know, I can experience physical pain. I will complain, maybe, probably, but to say that someone like Zizek, here I will be serious. I've watched these videos. Someone like Elon Musk, Zizek, Lady Gaga, they really suffer. They talk about this in their videos, and most people, when they look at them, they say, but oh, they are amazing, they are wealthy, they are famous, they are rich, they are good looking, they are intelligent, they have all the qualities. Why do they complain? But I understand their suffering. When Elon Musk, he says, and Eminem, when the inner torment of their soul, not in a Christian sinful way. Here, that's Nietzsche is the antidote, because in the sense they are not sinful at all, or the sins that they have, it's not really. No, it's a torment which is not moral. I mean, it's not a punishment from the outside. It's an inner conflictual psyche. In the sense, Musk, Lady Gaga, Zizek, Eminem, and the great poets of the European tradition, they suffer an inner moral torment because of conflicted tendencies. And in the sense, they really do suffer. And their activity, writing books that no one reads, when they are philosophically serious, here in the good sense, and not just pop culture for Zizek, probably you suffer slavery because you suffer for lack of recognition, because people do not read your serious books. Elon Musk, his way of transcending the suffering is SpaceX, Tesla, etc. Lady Gaga and Eminem, this is music and an artistic expression. And yeah. So here another self appears. In a way, I want to be the therapist of mankind, because I have to be my own therapist eventually, but I want to cure and to save all the others. Because I understand a lot of suffering, but then I have to understand the physical suffering, which I have not really experienced. Yeah, but in terms of moral torments, I am not the one who has suffered the most. There are other people, and I do not. Maybe I will have to, but I understand I understand the suffering, the moral suffering of most people, and when I'm in an aristocratic mood. Really, here I'm not in a mood to make. Maybe I am. My joke is, I'm the best god ever because you can torment me physically. That's my insurance against complaints. I am here. I can feel pain. If people want to, that will be my own piece. Maybe that's my insanity in the sense that I feel that I have to let others hurt me physically so that they can... But I have no problem with this. I mean, I will have maybe, but the idea is great. No, but seriously. This is serious, but what I mean is... this is another aspect of myself, the therapist, as I call this. No, the therapy. Let's go on a therapy, but that's why I want recognition, not because partly because I want to achieve that, but also because I want to become successful eventually, to be able to talk in public, to solve other people's problems. But is it possible? Maybe it's not. That's part of the suffering. So that's part of the libertarian political revolution. That's what motivates, not because I'm interested in economics or politics. I've understood way too fast maybe that politics and economics, but here's my suffering, that I genuinely think if I have to be good towards myself and to forgive myself, etc., I didn't think that I was capable of speaking interesting truth about psychology. I've never studied psychology. I've just studied my own inner torment, maybe. But I know that if people could spend 3 hours watching this with the sufficient intelligence, they would understand me. And that's part of, again, negativity emerges. That's why a part of me is obsessed with intelligence, but intelligence causes my suffering, but lack of intelligence in others, in terms of quantitative intelligence, because I can lack intelligence in terms of social intelligence, but the lack of intellectual, quantitative intelligence in others, low IQ, causes me suffering because on a quantitative level, if I speak really the truth in an interesting way, which here it's intermediary, I could speak with my categories, but people are not intelligent enough to follow. And I suffer from this. But I also suffer from an excess of intelligence. That's maybe there are so many people with a low IQ. I don't blame them, but I have conflicted tendencies. Sometimes I say they must be very happy because they do not ask themselves too much question and they are joyful, probably. That's partly my paternalist, European, arrogant self, 19th century, white man's burden, etc., partly. But also, genuinely, people who do not ask themselves too many questions, they probably are happy in a way. But I want to be Stuart Mill. I would rather be an unhappy Socrates than a satisfied whatever. But then, I've just said something, but anyway, no one cares about 19th century Anglo-Saxon utilitarian references because they cannot follow the line of reasoning or whatever. I'm being arrogant. No, but seriously, this is the speed at which I think in terms of morality. And then I say to myself, I have to stop speaking about morality and I have to act morally. But posting this video without editing or without upload data is what I call morality, namely Kantian ethics. The principle, I cannot always do this. It's much easier to do this when I'm sitting in front of my computer. But I cannot be the perfect Kantian. And Kant, let's antagonize Kant. It's very easy to talk about ethics in your office in 18th century Germany, etc. That's what I'm doing in front of my computer, but and here Dostoevsky, I can understand. So what was I saying? In politics, really, I don't really care about politics and economics as such, because my political ideal is that's where communism and libertarianism, it's not because, communism is great, libertarianism is great. Maybe they are, but it's just to reduce the working hours. Not because I am good, but because this would be a gift to others to be able to study and to reflect and to meditate. the way I try to appease the suffering is that I said to myself, as an individual, I cannot solve all the problems at the same time for everyone without hurting anyone else. I can't. Maybe I don't want to, or maybe I just can't. And this is why I suffer and why I am resentful, and my resentment turns into exteriorization of negativity in one way or another, because I experience myself as a failure, because I can't, because I have to fail at some moment. I already have. And if I will not, no, but here where my psychology and if I am just an ordinary person, I don't care about failing. I mean, I do, but no. What I mean is, if I think in an ordinary way, well, I accept failure, my own failures, the failure of others, etc. But if I think, I identify kind of with God, or I try to set to equalize the standards of the Germans or of God, or as the good God, I cannot tolerate failure. And in my own personal experience, in my own empirical life, whenever I had my mind onto a project, I could not tolerate failure either. I can tolerate failure when I don't really care, but the moment when I start to care about something, I cannot tolerate failure, which makes me fail, which makes me insane, but I will try to it's becoming a little bit too complex within my soul or within my mind. I will stop the video here. I will meditate for a while and Maybe I will call this video an honest conversation about love and suffering. And in the description below I put the links to the YouTube channels. Yeah. About love and suffering.